Like and subscribe. Traffic talk.
You already know who it is. It's me, Tyron, back at it again with another traffic talk video. Traffic is slow as usual. That's why we do these videos. This year, you and me again, just trying to have a bit of a chat. I don't have a lot to talk about today. I'm also trying to keep these a little bit shorter than usual because I know you guys complain. And I'm going to smooth this camera up a little bit, so excuse the hand, guys. There we go, a little bit better. Okay, cool. So, something I did want to mention that I realize I haven't yet is just the Matric Exams. If you're writing exams right now, good luck. I know that pain. I remember going through it. I've got a couple of people that I was speaking to, and the one guy was just telling me how he did physics. I think it was physics that he wants to do, and he was just worried about how it's going to turn out. So I said, just don't let physics bring you down. It's going to be okay. You just got to power through it. Eventually you'll get through it. It's a matter of just forward momentum, and he kind of looked at me funny. I didn't understand why, but I was saying the same thing to you guys. At this point in time, all you really want to do is stop having to write papers, stop having to study. It's been like a whole year that you've gone through this. Trust me, it's worth it. At the end of it all, there's that piece of paper will help a lot. I'm not going to get into the whole politics of why you only need 3 subjects with 40% and 3 other subjects with 30% to pass, which I think is a bit low. I don't want to go to a doctor that's got 30% as an average mark for all of their subjects, but that's just me. Education system has got many other flaws. I don't know if I really need to get into all of this, but I think I've mentioned it before, but the biggest problem when it comes to writing in these exams right now is, yes, you need to write them, you need to get them done, but the biggest thing that the education system is supposed to do is actually to encourage you to want to learn. It's not a matter of you knowing all the history. I love history. It's not a matter of knowing all the chemistry that's gets spat at you in the classroom. It's a matter of wanting to know and understand that you need to walk away with. If you have that type of hunger for knowledge, you're able to grow in pretty much any other subject. Hello, motorbikes. But anyway, just if you're powering through it, guys. It's only 20 more days. Most of you guys will probably be finishing on the 27th with English. So good luck with that. Keep going. At the end of it, you guys get a nice, really, 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 really long holiday. And that in one sense makes it worth it. That nice break that you guys get before you hit more adulthood next year, or varsity. I don't know what you guys are doing with your lives. Do you even know what you're doing with your lives? Okay, maybe we should just move on. Some stuff that's happened this week. You guys have probably heard all of this already, but some highlights for me. So we had this PlayStation had this event in Paris. And they had a whole lot of games that they announced, a whole lot of fancy videos, which was really, really cool. I was impressed by some of those. Watched a bit of that live stream. 2 games that really stuck out to me. These are games that have been announced previously, but we've seen some new video footage for it. And that is The Last of Us Part 2, which just looks legitimate. That looks like a lot of fun. They did this whole video. If you guys haven't seen it, you can always go. We're on the YouTube right now, so you can just type in, not now, watch the video, then type in Last of Us Part 2 and watch that trailer. It's completely different characters that they did this trailer with. I know the other characters are going to be in it, but it was done so well. And the whole thing about that genre, that particular game, is that it doesn't just play a typical zombie. It kind of challenges how people relate to one another during this time, and what that whole family dynamic looks like between the two main characters. It's very interesting. If you haven't played the first game, I don't want to ruin it, but basically zombies, not really ugly zombies, pretty like scary-ish zombies running around after an outbreak. Everyone's living in clusters, a whole bunch of people are living in clusters to protect themselves. If you get bit, you get infected. They're not called zombies though, I don't know what they're called. Infected, I think they're just called infected. And you kind of, as the beginning of the story, I can tell you that part at least, you as the main character, as this dude, get this little girl, and you get given the task of trying to get this little girl to another group of people, because she's apparently immune and she might have the cure for this whole zombie thing that's happening, kind of to protect everyone else. And you kind of go through the story. It's a lot bigger, a lot more in depth than that. Really well told. The way that the controls work are extremely cool, because you play as two characters. One is this guy who's quite like confident. He knows how to work things. He's good with weapons. And you can almost feel that when you're playing with him, you feel this bit of this confidence. And when you play with the other character, who is, well, yeah, she's a little girl. I'm trying to think of another way to say that without ruining it. But when you play as her for a little bit, there's almost an unsettled feeling in terms of how she controls and how she deals with weapons. She's a little bit nervous, and it almost comes across that in the controls, which I really enjoyed. Anyway, play Last of Us. If you haven't yet, what's wrong with you? Another game worth looking at, and I'm quite interested in this. There's lots of different types of videos out, and we don't have too much information, but it's a game called Detroit Become Human, which is like a whole bunch of robots and androids living in society. They've kind of become, kind of like normal robots would be, slaves to humankind. And then there's multiple choices you can make that have multiple endings for particular parts of the story. And again, we don't know enough to make a good example of this. I'm changing lanes. Come on, there we go. And it looks like a lot of fun. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It looks like it's going to be really cool to see how all these stories interlink, and how you can tell one story and answer different choices to kind of impact the whole story, which I think could be quite cool. Again, that was the Paris PlayStation event. That was something that was really cool. There was a lot of VR stuff. Lots of VR stuff. And I'll be honest, some of it was pretty meh. Like, knowing what you can do with VR, seeing some of the really cool things. I played, I think it was called Fairpoint or Farpoint, at an event, and that was like really, really good graphics. It was done really, really well. And then you have these games that was at the Paris event, where it was like super bright polygons and triangles and stuff all mushed together. Like, that's really what it looked like. And those were how you, that's what the world looked like, and you just had to try and like solve silly little puzzles. I didn't understand what's happening there. If you really want VR to grow, you need to have those AAA guys who are getting involved, like the Resident Evil guys need to be involved in that kind of stuff. If you really want to see that stuff grow and not turn into a fad like it has in the past, where they start these things, people really love them initially, and then they fail miserably. That's just my rant about that. Another really cool thing that happened, BlizzCon, lots of information coming out of that. Big highlight for me as a cheapskate is that Starcraft 2 is going to be made free to play. Just the first part, Wings of Liberty. And I mean, Starcraft was, from my childhood, that was like one of the first games I played as well. That story was a lot of fun. It was the first strategy I played. Second to that was Command and Conquer. We're about to hit some speed bumps, so here comes some wobble, some more wobble. Change lanes here again. I'm good at what I do. So Starcraft, that's supposed to be free to play 14th, so next week, Tuesday. That should be out, downloadable, everyone able to play it for free. Just the first part of the campaigns, Wings of Liberty, which is a lot of fun. I did play it when it first came out. Those are some of the gaming highlights that have happened. Other highlights that have happened. Oh, okay. Let's just acknowledge Mettlestate. If anyone here from Mettlestate is watching, keep doing what you're doing. You guys are doing an amazing job in trying to get the local scene going. they announced Dota 2, and on the 18th of November, they're doing an event with a whole bunch of noobs to the game, which I think is really cool because Dota does have a huge learning curve, does have a lot of people who are experienced in how to play the game, and you kind of see that when anyone new's trying to start, it's almost overwhelming because there's so much happening. There's no real place for them to really get in because everyone else is so frustrated because they got so much experience. It's a problem with those type of games, I suppose. And there's also not a lot of viewership for that game in South Africa. So Mettlestate again coming to the party here, trying to get a whole bunch of noobs involved, trying to get a whole bunch of people involved, just to demonstrate to South Africa how cool it can be to watch this and what this game's all about and what it can be as an esport, which is, once again, big ups to Mettlestate. And then on top of that, they go and they announce this cheeky little thing last week Friday for Call of Duty World War II, and so the COD ZA community has gone nuts, rightly so. 4 seasons next year, starting in Jan, with a prize pool of 50,000 Rand. I might stand under correction with that for the first season, which is really, really cool. I mean, Call of Duty was one of the games that we land to, like, every single time we had a LAN. It was just that game. It was the first game we launched. It's probably the last game we played. Probably had the most amount of hours in Call of Duty 4. That's the game where I was in a clan for a little while. One of my favorite games. Really enjoyed it. And so seeing that coming back, the whole boots on the ground style that they're getting in World War II, there's just so much to look forward to. Watching some of the gameplay, it's a lot of fun. I wish I could play that game myself, but my PC can't handle it. We'll move on. Again, trying to keep these a little bit shorter than normal. What has happened outside of the gaming space? Well, we found out about the Paradise Papers. If you guys don't know what those are, basically a whole bunch of papers were leaked online that had pretty much a lot of wealthy people's tax haven information. So you had these guys with lots of money that had investment portfolios and methods that they were using to try to get around paying lots and lots of tax, trying to get the money offshore out of their country into other spaces, which, it's interesting to see how the information comes out. And then you find companies like Nike and companies like Apple who have been part of this whole situation and are using it to try and move their money around a little bit more sneakily. And I'm not going to say much about that, but it's interesting to see where these papers are coming from. We had that Master Deeds hack hold on a second. The Master Deeds leak wasn't a hack. A data leak which had every South African, pretty much any South African's ID numbers, email addresses, first names, surnames, racial, like how they felt about different, like it was a huge amount of information that was dumped, and it wasn't, this is really interesting. So this wasn't a hack. This wasn't someone that went into a server, pulled this information out of an SQL database. This was an SQL database that was publicly facing to the internet. So it actually took someone just enough clever Google searching to be able to find where this table was, download it, because there was no protection on it. And that really irritated me. My information was not involved in that, so that was good for me. But it's really irritating to see how some people take care of data. If you work in that type of environment, please make sure you protect your customers' data. And if you have your own data, helpful tip, guys, I think I've said this before as well, but 2-factor authentication and different passwords on all your stuff. It's that simple. Don't use password as your password, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and don't do that on multiple websites, because as soon as one is compromised, what these guys do is they go and they spam every single popular website they can with your email address, because that's the first thing that always gets leaked, and the password they know you have. And a lot of people, because they reuse the passwords, are compromised on multiple platforms at the same time. So please use different passwords and use 2-step authentication. That's when you normally have an app or a token of some kind that gets you a secondary code that you need before you need to log in. Really simple to set up. Really, like honestly, it is one of the most easiest things to set up. Generally, you go to the website that you want it on, you type it in, and if they don't have the option, I'll be quite surprised. Pretty much every social media platform has two-step authentication already. Those are the really simple things. Keep your data secure. Keep other people's data secure if you have any control over it. And I think that's all I really wanted to talk about. Really quick again. We're at 15 minutes at the moment. And I think I'll stop there because I know these get really long and you guys get bored of looking at this unshaven face of mine. So I will see you guys in another video, maybe later this week. Oh wait, before I do that, last week I think I ran a little bit of a poll on Twitter to say I want to give away some CD keys for some games. You guys let me know. We did get the results for that, and so I will be throwing up a link probably later today that you guys can use to enter if you want to enter to win those games. I think the first game that will probably go up is Supreme Commander 2 or Kane and Lynch. There's a few. I'll probably do like all of them at different times for different types of giveaways. But anyway, my name has still been Tyron. It hasn't changed. You can give me suggestions, please, for topics you want to chat about in the description below, or you can hit me up on Twitter, #TrafficTalk, or just hit me up on Twitter and say hi, because I like hearing from people. Well, this has been awkward. See you in another one. Bye.